Hi everyone, today we are with Dr. Nick Woznita, who has been working with us on a SBRI grant project that's been funded for looking at cancer, particularly early and faster diagnosis as well as patient safety netting. And we at Cure have been fortunate enough to have been working closely with Dr. Nick through the course of the application as well as now that we've been awarded the grant. Pleasure to have you with us, Dr. Nick.
Thank you so much, Surabhi. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a really exciting time for healthcare, but especially in trying to improve outcomes from lung cancer.
Especially with the pandemic, we've seen that the GP referral pathway, which was otherwise also struggling with challenges of reporter or radiologist, radiographer shortages, has been further exacerbated and is seeing further delays, particularly with self-referrals, GP interviews, etc. being postponed. What do you think the value of AI is in terms of lung cancer diagnosis?
So I think with any cancer, but in particularly lung cancer, rapid and early diagnosis will be the key to improving outcomes. We know that the earlier diagnosed, the better your outcome is. You have more treatment options and your cancer is less likely to progress as we work through your diagnosis. I think part of the problem with lung cancer is it doesn't present very often. It's often found as an incidental finding just by someone not being very well. And so what we have is a cancer that kills a lot of people, the most sort of cancer deaths in England. We have a test which is performed routinely, sort of 2 or 3 million chest x-rays are performed with GPs every year. And so how do we identify those chest x-rays that are most appropriate for urgent and rapid intervention? The National Optimal Lung Cancer Pathway was published in 2017, and it really highlights the need to front load your resource into rapid diagnosis through imaging, rapid reporting and straight to CT.
That's a really good point you made, the massive volumes of GP chest x-rays. While chest x-rays have been the most predominant scan done within diagnostic pathways, where do you see the challenges right now within that workflow?
So one of the challenges, so we've done some previous work which reported a 12-month block randomized trial, and we found that by reporting the GP chest x-ray at the time, we could almost halve the time to diagnosis of lung cancer. Fantastic result. What we did also incur though, that we had to report 8,500 chest x-rays to find 49 lung cancers. And so for those 49 patients, reducing the time to diagnosis will hopefully improve outcomes. But what we need to do is to find a clinically and cost-effective solution to correctly identify those priority x-rays out of such a large volume where the patients would benefit most from a rapid report and then straight to CT. And I think that's where AI as a triage tool and as a clinical decision support tool is really, really worthwhile for investigation.
Thank you so much for that insight. The second part of it is also where routinely with clinicians there is, with AI being relatively new, there is some hesitancy or there are questions that come around the ease of adoption or the comfort they should have. What are the things that you think would be beneficial to use AI in the clinical workflow, and what is it that we need to be careful about?
So I think the possible benefits are sort of threefold. There is prioritising x-rays where the patients would benefit most from a straight to CT, because there's always an opportunity cost. If you report all of your 2 million GP chest x-rays in England every year, that's time someone isn't spent doing something else. So we need to identify those cohort of patients that most benefit from rapid reporting. We also have the sort of 2 heads are better than one solution where radiologists or reporting radiographers will identify a large proportion of cancers. We know that missed lung cancers are semi-frequent occurrence. The HSIB report sort of quite well documented the journey of someone with a missed lung cancer diagnosis. And we know AI is good at detecting lung cancers in certain situations. So if we have some lung cancers found by radiographers or radiologists, we have some lung cancers found by AI. If that reduces the total number missed, that's another opportunity to improve patient care through fewer missed diagnoses. And I think the third opportunity is really around, within a pathway, you have a finite amount of resource, and we need to be able to make sure that it's fast-tracked in an appropriate way. If we are prioritising the correct X-rays, it will then lead to increased efficiencies within the pathway in terms of, if you take a patient straight to a CT scanner, there's no administrative time sending a result, there's no booking staff time, booking a report, there's no patient returning for another examination to the same department. Previous work we did, the patient had to literally walk past the CT scanner on their way out from their X-ray, only to know that 3 days, 4 days, a week later, they had to come back and walk exactly past the CT scanner again. The sort of within that sort of not only pathway efficiency is patient anxiety. We've done some work with patient and carer groups, so survivors of lung cancer or carers with those, and they found that waiting for a result is an anxious time. It might be for the healthcare professional that after the examination has been performed, that's sort of that for them that's finished. But for the patient, the examination hasn't finished until the results have been received by their clinician, but then also the clinician has then passed on the results to the patient. And what we've found by fast-tracking abnormal results, we've found that patients can turn this passive time of waiting in which they are uncertain of the findings into an active process where they're being proactive about their care. They are aware of the next steps in their pathway and they feel like they are being taken care of.
Makes sense. One last question probably from my side. Since you mentioned CTs, right, there is a global sort of push for screening more patients, particularly the ones at risk, and chest X-ray not being considered the best test for lung cancer. What are your thoughts around that, especially given the extensive work you've done with chest X-rays, and what's the relevance it holds today in the lung cancer pathway?
Like any complex problem, there's not one solution. If there was one solution, there wouldn't be a problem, we would have adopted it. Only a certain proportion of patients with lung cancer will be identified via the lung health check system. Anywhere between 20 to 40% of lung cancers will not present in eligible population for lung cancer screening or a lung health check, depending on where it is. Chest X-rays are a high volume test. They involve a relatively low radiation burden. They are rapidly acquired using equipment which is located in every hospital. But we also know that about 20 or 30% of patients with lung cancer will have a normal chest X-ray. And so it's all about using every tool in the kit to make sure that we are finding as many lung cancers as we can. So by increasing referral rates from primary care for chest X-ray, for appropriately safety netting patients with a normal chest X-ray where their clinician feels that they are still at high risk, they need to be, again, seen by a respiratory doctor or go for a CT scan. We also need to increase the numbers of targeted lung health checks to make sure that patients who are asymptomatic, who hopefully we find with early stage lung cancer, are able to be diagnosed and treated quickly.
A final thought and comment, since you've been working closely with the Cure team and you've been looking at the QXR product, as well as our SBRI collaboration, what do you think is the expected impact that we can showcase within the lung cancer pathway?
I think the biggest potential impact from this project is being able to robustly across 7 NHS sites with about 150,000 chest X-rays prospectively in the real world evaluate a mature AI product with a view to start showing people the best deployment methods, the best evaluation methods, and how it can really be sort of integrated into routine care. We're at a position with AI within medical imaging where we have lots of commercially available products. The validation studies are all satisfactory. They are all regulated and registered as healthcare devices. But we're yet to see the best way to deploy it. And by including so many NHS sites within the project across diverse both patient geographies, physical geographies, and range of clinical pathways, we'll be able to see the best way to embed in AI to improve patient care.
Thank you so much, and we look forward to working together in hopefully creating that framework and guiding the path in terms of how lung cancer early and faster diagnosis can be done in the UK.
Fantastic.
Look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.